Eugenics, has the ideology truly faded into obsolescence, or does it persist in a more insidious form, cleverly cloaked within the realm of individual free choice and reproductive autonomy? Examining the intersections of genetic advancements, reproductive technologies, and societal norms raises important considerations about whether eugenic principles still linger beneath the surface, influencing decisions in ways that warrant critical examination and ethical scrutiny. What is eugenics? Eugenics is the controversial movement that advocated for improving the genetic quality of the human population through selective breeding. Originating in the late 19th century, proponents believed in encouraging reproduction among individuals with desirable traits while discouraging or preventing those deemed undesirable from having children. The ideology faced severe criticism due to its association with discriminatory practices, such as forced sterilization and policies that violated human rights. While largely discredited today, questions remain about whether certain elements of eugenic thinking persist in contemporary discussions around genetics and reproductive choices. Sir Francis Galton, considered the founder of eugenics, year was 1883. Galton believed that intelligence, talent, and other desirable traits were primarily inherited. Drawing inspiration from the selective breeding of animals and plants, Galton proposed applying similar principles to humans to garnish similar results. Galton was a pioneer in developing methods for measuring and quantifying various human traits, such as intelligence and physical characteristics. He sought to use these measurements to identify individuals with superior qualities for the purpose of selective breeding. By improving the genetic quality of the population, he believed that a eugenic approach could lead to a healthier, more intelligent, and more capable society.
There is a steady check in an old civilization upon the fertility of the abler classes. The improvident and unambitious are those who chiefly keep up the breed. So the race gradually deteriorates, becoming in each successive generation less fit for a high civilization.
The American Breeders Association, founded in 1903, was the first scientific members organization in the U.S. to support eugenics. 1906 was the founding of the Eugenics Record Office, ERO, in Cold Spring Harbor, New York. Charles B. Davenport, a prominent biologist, played a key role in establishing the ERO.
No person having 1/2 part or more Negro blood shall be permitted to take a white person as spouse. Any person having less than 1/2 part, but not less than 1/8 part of Negro blood, shall not be given a license to marry a white person without a certificate from the State Eugenics Board. 2 imbecile parents, whether related or not, have only imbecile offspring.
Many states enacted marriage laws with eugenic criteria, prohibiting anyone who was epileptic, imbecile, or feeble-minded from marrying. The ERO aimed to collect and analyze data on heredity, family histories, and traits, with the goal of influencing social policies to improve the genetic stock of the population. The first state in the United States to enact a eugenic sterilization law was Indiana in 1907. The law, which allowed for the involuntary sterilization of individuals deemed unfit for reproduction. The American eugenics movement received extensive funding from various corporate foundations, including the Carnegie Institution, Rockefeller Foundation, and the Harriman Railroad Fortune. In 1906, J.H. Kellogg provided funding to help found the Race Betterment Foundation in Battle Creek, Michigan. Margaret Sanger was an American birth control activist, sex educator, writer, and nurse who played a pivotal role in the birth control movement and the establishment of Planned Parenthood, one of the largest reproductive health organizations in the world. There has been much debate over her belief and support of the eugenics programs. Was her work in support of women's rights, or was it geared towards eugenics ideology?
First, it should sterilize those with mental and physical disabilities, including morons, mental defectives, epileptics. Second, it should segregate on state-run concentration farms a much broader public of impoverished and criminal citizens, including paupers, prostitutes, drug addicts, illiterates, and the unemployed. If the second group reformed its behavior and accepted sterilization, it could return to mainstream society. We don't want word to go out that we want to exterminate the Negro population, and the African American minister is the man who can straighten out that idea if it ever occurs to any of their more rebellious members.
This was a statement made by Margaret in a letter to Dr. Clarence J. Gamble, regarding the Negro Project instigated in 1939. She wanted to garnish the support of prominent men of color within their communities. She knew with her background supporting eugenics, her efforts would be distrusted, and probably rightly so. In 1926, she spoke at a rally with the KKK, and she endorsed the Supreme Court's 1927 decision in Buck v. Bell, which allowed states to sterilize people deemed unfit without their consent and sometimes without their knowledge, a ruling that led to the sterilization of tens of thousands of people. Carrie Buck was 17 years old, living with an adoptive family. She became pregnant, and the adoptive parents had her committed for feeble-mindedness and promiscuity. She was forcibly sterilized under persecution, yet in reality she was raped by the nephew of her adoptive mother. To save the reputation of the family, Carrie was punished. Sanger, Reinhardt, and Sanger's secretary, Florence Rose, drafted a report, Birth Control and the Negro, skillfully using language that appealed both to eugenicists fearful of unchecked black fertility and progressives committed to shepherding African Americans into middle-class culture. The report stated that Negroes present the great problem of the South, as they are the group with the greatest economic, health, and social problems, a population characterized as largely illiterate, and that still breed carelessly and disastrously. An estimated 70,000 forced sterilizations took place in the U.S. This number could very well be much higher. The Eugenics Record Office, in turn, had links to the Nazi Party during the 1930s. Many articles state Margaret Sanger was against the Nazis. Her dislike appears to be more directed at fascism, not at eugenics nor the ideology of an Aryan race. She did not agree with the extermination of the Jews, and she didn't seem to be an advocate for abortion. She saw more benefit to controlled sterilization and prevention of births that were more harmful than productive to society. Sanger separated from her husband, William, in 1914, and in keeping with her private views on sexual liberation, she began a series of affairs with several men, including Havelock Ellis and H.G. Wells. In 1922, she married oil magnate James Noah H. Slee, but did so on her own terms, ensuring her financial and sexual independence. I find it hypocritical that she found herself to be entitled to a life of sexual liberation. Yet, women of less economic standard were deemed promiscuous and of feeble mind, leading to being placed in institutions and subject to sterilization. No matter your stance on the benefits of Planned Parenthood, the dark and damaging history surrounding it can't be ignored. The group that was to benefit the most from birth control is the same group whom was targeted for sterilizations. Her actions were aligned with her eugenics beliefs, and the majority of her funding was provided from like-minded elites. Planned Parenthood's actions today still seem to be geared towards the same individuals, the black community being the largest proportion in receiving abortions. They are pushing focus towards gender-affirming care today. These services include estrogen and anti-androgen hormone therapy, testosterone hormone therapy, and puberty blockers. These services will provide constant long-term funding to the organization, backed by the LGBTQ and government support in affirmation over counsel. Question is, do they have people's best interests in mind, or is it a continuation of eugenics cleverly cloaked in women's rights and pro-choice movements?